Hello everybody, this is Le Minimum Lovable Product. I am Marco Lanzi and I'm about to bring you behind the scenes of building digital experiences that people will love. In the episode of today, Isabelle Onhemus, CEO and founder of EyeFitU, a company active in the fashion technology space, is going to tell us what brands don't understand of fashion technology, how to improve consumer experience and reduce returns, and what are the challenges in being a female founder. Let's welcome Isabelle. Welcome to another episode of Le MLVP. We are here today with Isabelle Onhemus. She's the founder and CEO of EyeFitU. So welcome, Isabelle.
Thank you very much, Marco. It is a pleasure to being here with you today. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you.
Likewise, so let's jump straight into it. So EyeFitU, what is it? How did you come up with the idea? What is it that you're doing?
Of course. Thank you, Marco. EyeFitU is a SaaS company. It's a software based on the size engine recommendation. So basically, we have a size engine recommendation. We provide anthropometric and behavioral analytics to our fashion retailers and also omni-channel suite of solutions.
Okay, nice. So you help, let's say, brand to make their customer better understand like sizing and which is the right clothes to buy, right? If I understand correctly.
Exactly, Marco. So what we do is that we inject a widget onto a website, let's say, of a fashion apparel brand, and the customer has an elevated, if you want, experience, and this leads to more trust in the brand, leads to less bracketing, which means less multiple orders of the same garment, etc. So the impact is very interesting as it provides this customer engagement, if you want, with the brand and trust in the brand.
Okay, no, that's super nice. So fashion technology, so fashion tech, like a buzzword, but there are actually a lot of things moving in the industry, from augmented reality to 3D printing to solution like yours. So as being someone that works on the fashion technology,
Yeah.
what is it that the brands do not get of fashion technology?
Well, I think brands since COVID, fortunately or unfortunately, have speed up their digital, how can I say, uptake, investments, right? So I think fashion companies overall globally are and must invest in the tech, in the data, and in systems that will enable them to deliver those exceptional customer experience, right? In order to be competitive. So there are different parts of it, of course. So there is the e-commerce tech, retail tech. I think they're linked, to be honest, right? So it's all about giving a truly frictionless experience in order to increase the customer experience. So we've heard, like you mentioned, a lot about AR. Some brands are launching AR experiences with some success, depending on who they target, whether it's Gen Z or older than Gen Zs, right? On which digital channels, etc. And then there is also, of course, a big switch into SEOs, right? So not only into paid, accelerate, your visibility with paid search, but also the intent shopping, right? So how you capture that to target better your potential or retarget your existing clients. So a lot of technologies out there that we can see, and new communication channels as well. You could see it with the TikTok, etc. So how do you develop campaigns as a brand to have a more immersive experience and increase your sales at the end of the day, right? Yes,
No, that's the ultimate goal.
exactly.
So if I understand correctly, what you're saying, like, okay, a lot of technologies, a lot of experimentation, but it's all focused on how do you enhance and create a better experience for the consumer,
Yeah,
being on a new channel or being like an enhanced experience of what is already existing on the traditional channel, being the web or anything else.
exactly, Marco. And since so many people have migrated to e-commerce, right? So e-commerce sites have to be adjusted, right, with a
Mhm.
higher speed, more stability, better payment solutions, etc. Right, and EyeFitU is exactly, I would say, in that category of
Okay.
enhancing the e-commerce sites. And now at the second level, how do you enhance also the in-store experience for the client, but also the data collection from the retailers in order to be able to fit into their next wave of supply chain enhancement, right? Because of the supply chain disruption that we have seen and are still seeing today,
Okay.
a more agile supply chain is required in the future for fashion retailers.
Indeed, supply chain is a critical factor today,
Yeah.
especially with what happened in the world in many industries.
Mhm.
Brands retail is definitely one of those. So, with your solution, I guess you are also tackling like one of the big pain point or secret or not so secret pain point of
Yeah.
e-commerce, which is a delight for the consumer, but a nightmare for the merchants, which are
Correct.
returns.
Yeah.
So, what do you see happening in the return scenario? What are you trying to? How you're doing to improve them? Do you see that are those like cost of the business? We just need to deal with it, or is a something that actually we can and improve in somehow?
Absolutely. I think it's a very good question, Marco. Thank you for that. And it's actually the only reason why I founded EyeFitU was that I'm not a chemist, right? But I try to have my little impact in this world. Seeing all those returns, as you know, there are some very big retailers, I won't name them, out of Germany or whatever, that have more than 50% return rates, right? And this is just unsustainable. And the consumer, to its defense, maybe doesn't think about the impact because it's not transparent. When I send back something that I have ordered, where is it going?
Yeah,
So it's going to go, they say, apparently, as you know, the fashion industry is not transparent, but around 30% will end up in landfills. The
okay.
rest will be reconditioned or rewashed, etc. So there is a lot of consequences in terms of inventory cost, fulfillment costs, and now technologies enable to lower those return rates dramatically. So, for example, us, what we see across all our clients, whether it's sportswear or evening wear or premium wear, whatever it is, on average, we decrease return rates by 55%. So it is possible to have an impact. And this is after the first week, Marco. It's not after months and months. Now clients are used to click on a what's my size, right? They don't have to put in their name. It's of course GDPR compliant, and they trust then the brand. So we see on average 30% of all website visitors that click on what's my size. That's a lot, right? So the impact is there definitely on the net profitability for retailers.
Okay, and do you think, let's say, beside the sizing issues, which definitely
Mhm.
is an issue, are there
Yeah.
other things impacting the returns that you see?
Of course, I mean, there was a big EY survey on fashion online retailers just before COVID, actually, and 75% of all returns are due to size and fit. Fit has, of course, a personal preference, which we have integrated now in our algorithms. The rest is color, is material, is the way it fits on me. And for us, what was important is that, it's not easy to develop a software in sizing, but it is difficult to make a UI, if you want, that is lean, that is easily understandable, easy to onboard for the client, and also has the fit preference and the inclusivity, which was very important to me. So we show the data that we assign, we show the body measurements that we assign when people answer the three questions: what's your age, your height, and your weight? We show them the body measurements, and they can override them or just accept them, and they will be anyway north of 93, 94% correct. But it's the inclusivity is extremely important for us. I hope this answers your
Okay,
question.
so
So
yep, no, it does, it does. Uh, Thanks a lot for that. So, if I understand correctly, what you're saying is there are, of course, multiple reasons for returns. The big one is still the sizing issues. That is actually what you guys are trying to address. There are still some others, but let's say that the sizing one is definitely the big pressing point. But and you mentioned something when you were talking just earlier about returns, that is sustainability, which is like a big like also a big hidden issue also of returns, but
yeah,
as you were saying, the customer maybe don't even think about it. uh, in your opinion, what is it that we can do practically actually to make e-commerce more sustainable, so to improve returns, of course, besides reducing the amount of returns? Is there something else that we can do?
of course. Uh, well, as you probably know from the McKinsey sustainability report in fashion, there are many things that can be implemented, right? And different things, of course, have different impacts. But materials, giving second life to clothing, right? For example, have managing the supply chain. All these have the biggest impacts in the in making a brand, if you want, sustainable, right? So decreasing, in my eyes, the greenwashing that is happening is a big step. More transparency from the brands to the consumers. And one should not forget, we are in a moment of consumer dominance. They want to know, they educate themselves, they research how this shirt was done, etc. So we, as a brand, you have to deliver all those things in order to gain new clients or retain your clients. Otherwise, they just move on and go to a brand that talks to them, that talks their language, their worries, etc. So for us, for example, being selected by the Global Fashion Agenda in Copenhagen was a was an honor, as we are part of the fourth pillar, according to McKinsey. So trying to one decrease those unnecessary, if you want, returns, and two, also provide data so retailers can optimize their manufacturing or buying, right?
Okay, cool. And sorry, just to remind maybe for the audience, which are the four pillars that you were mentioning?
So now you ask me. Now I'm concentrating on the next question, female founder collective. But I can go back to that for you.
No, okay, no, that's fine. Don't worry, don't worry. But I think
I don't know them by heart, but of course the report is like a year old,
Mhm.
and I mean, I can forward you the report with great pleasure. It is a must read for any fashion brand.
Okay, thanks. So then maybe we'll share also the link to it
Absolutely.
to the audience on LinkedIn, so that people can have a look at it. And thanks for mentioning, because I think learning more on the topic is probably the first step to understand how to
Yes.
improve it.
Yes. Absolutely, Marco.
Cool. Okay, so
It's a collective job, right?
yeah.
We owe it to ourselves, we owe it to the next generation. There is no way back. So we all have to work together in this, right? Whatever the industry we work in. Unfortunately, you and I are working in the second largest polluter, right? So I think we have to take our responsibilities. Absolutely.
No, definitely agree, and it's definitely like a village work. Everyone needs to do his own
Yeah.
part to contribute to
Mhm.
the this beautiful world that we live in, to keep it for quite some longer time, hopefully.
Absolutely.
So the last question, so our wrap up question, beside of being super busy with many things, you're actually also the founder of the Female Founder Collective. Can you tell us a little bit what it is, and actually also what are the differences or like challenges that you have of being like a female founder versus a man founder, on top of all the other challenges that you have of being a founder itself?
Of course. No, thank you. Just to correct, Marco, I'm a member
You're a
of
member.
Founder.
Sorry.
I'm a member of Female Founder Collective. It was founded by Rebecca Minhoff,
Okay.
as I think you know her, in New York. So I will not take that, title. Of course not. I'm a very modest member of a Female Founder Collective, and I was very pleased when they approached me and asked me if I want to be a part of their journey. Yes, it is still an issue, right, for female founded companies to raise capital. Actually, so we receive globally, I would say, around 2.3%
Okay.
of venture funding. So not a lot. We are generating about, I think it was a year and a half ago, 2000, end of 2019 numbers, around 1.8 trillion per year
Okay.
in revenues, right? Women-led businesses or women-owned businesses. So there is still a gender gap that is pretty important. Many funds are now either launched by founders or previous CEOs or or just women who want to support women and who have this opportunity. So it is something is changing. So it's something is changing in all diversity. You know what I mean? Not only for women-led businesses. So it has to accelerate though, because as you know, more and more women are founding their own businesses, whether it's in tech or non-tech, right?
Yep.
More and more women are coming out of universities, whether it is in a food tech, in a clean tech, in fintech, right? Whatever sectors, we see women founding businesses, right? And trying to change something in this world. So it has to be much more inclusive, but I mean, yeah, right away for my generation, but even more for the generation to come.
Okay, no, thanks a lot. So what you're saying is like there is still a lot of bias, especially when we talk about
Yes.
getting capital, which is an essential part of growing a new
Yeah.
company. You need to have
Yes.
the room to experiment, to fail, and therefore get to the success. So of course, like if those like having those biases still create then let's say extra struggle to make sure that companies founded by women can actually be successful. So hopefully, as you said, like with all these initiatives, we can close this gap and we can get
Yeah.
to a world where like men, women, everyone can actually contribute and create the company and solve problems and address needs in all the area, can be technology or outside
Absolutely.
of technology, of course, as well.
Absolutely. And this extends to any C-level positions, any board position. Diversity enriches, right?
Yeah,
And makes companies more profitable.
totally.
Saying it bluntly, that's just what it's about, you know?
If let's say the human world, the people are composed by many different facets, and that's what makes
Yeah,
it nice. So these same different facets are the one that are addressing the problem for the rest of the people. So the more
exactly.
diversity we have there, the better we can be as a collective or as a companies as well.
Exactly. Yes, well said, Marco.
Okay, so I think we are up at time. So thank a lot, Isabel,
You're
and
very welcome.
was really a pleasure. So looking forward also to chat with you and see how the let's say how the also your company evolves. So let's keep in touch, and was really a pleasure to have you. And thanks a lot for sharing all your experience with our audience.
Thank you very much, Marco, for having me. Thank you to your audience as well for listening. Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you're keen to leave a review or subscribe, it helps more than you know. I hope to see you soon in the next episode. Stay tuned.